Hello. This is another old school comics review slash appreciation. This is Love and Rockets Volume 1, Book 1. Basically, what this is are the reprints of the first two, I think they were like 64 page black and white magazines done by, most of the work is done by Jamie and Gilbert Hernandez. There's a third brother named Mario Hernandez who does contribute a story or two, but most of it's Jamie and Gilbert. Basically, the original stories were done in the early 80s, like around 1981, 82. The original trade came out in, I think, 85 or 86, something like that. And it's been the very matter of fact, the very original trade didn't even have a like subtitle, but if you see it now, it'll be subtitled "Love and Rockets: Music for Mechanics." Basically, what the stories are about, they're kind of these sort of tongue-in-cheek, sort of sci-fi superhero-y type spoofs. Um, the longest stories are, well, the biggest story is BEM, and then there's Mechanics. BEM is short for Bug-Eyed Monsters. That's Gilbert's story, and Mechanics is Jamie's story. BEM is basically about this kind of action hero, superhero type guy named Castle Radium, and he's searching for his arch foe, BEM, this giant bug-eyed monster, which he can't find for some reason. And he goes all over the world, and he runs into wacky misadventures, and he runs into zany characters and things like that. Mechanics is basically the story of Maggie the mechanic, who is something called a pro-solar mechanic, where she goes all over the world with her mechanics crew, repairing rockets and robots and being in exotic lands. And there's a point where they go to some far off make believe country where they have to repair a rocket that they, of course, are never going to get repaired. And there's dinosaurs there, and there's a dictator there, and there's an upsurgency there. And the story's told through the letters that Maggie writes home to a roommate named Hopi. Like I said, there's all kinds of crazy pseudo science fictiony things going on, but the real point of these stories are usually the human relations, the love stories, just the zany, different, interesting characters you run into. Instead of having, Galactus or Darkseid or somebody like that coming to Earth and, what are we going to do? He's going to destroy the Earth. The story will be something like Galactus comes and he's trying to bum money off of you because he wants to buy beer. And then your ex-girlfriend comes and says, I remember Galactus. He's a jerk. I used to date him. That's the type of humor that comes in here. The art is very well. Let's face it. The bigger star. Jamie's more known for the art. Gilbert's more known for his stories. Jamie's art is extremely pleasing to the eye. In this collection, you can see how it's very much influenced by Dan DeCarlo, who's an old Archie comics artist, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby. I know he's gone on record and said that Hank Ketchum, who was the artist for Dennis the Menace comic strip. All these things are very evident in his artwork. Uh, Gilbert's the influences are a little bit harder to pick out. They're a little bit more old school cartoony, more of that old school Bigfoot cartoony. A lot of his brushwork is a lot heavier. The lines are thicker, but still very pleasing to the eye. Other stories that are involved here are Radio Zero, Music for Monsters. There's a couple of their non-spoof stories. There's a Locust story, which is basically about Maggie and Hopi running around Oxnard, being in a punk rock, them running into their cholo friends, different things like that. And there's also, I think it's called A Little Story, which is one of Gilbert's Heartbreak Soup stories, which are set in a mythical Latin American town. It's just the different people, the children, the adults, and they're going through their trials and tribulations. As the series progressed, the Hernandez brothers kind of got rid of all the kind of science fiction-y type things, and they became more human interest stories. The Locust stories took over for Jamie, where it was mostly, like I said, Maggie and Hopi and their relationship, their friends, their neighborhood, just living their lives. They're kind of soap opera, people are falling in and out of love their things with Mexican gangs and things like that. Um, Gilbert started focusing on Heartbreak Soup more, and like I said, the various social and political things going on there. But these early stories basically combined everything they've ever liked about everything. So you get the punk rock, the new wave, you get wrestling, you get Latin American culture, Mexican American culture, everything, just all sorts of things. I don't know anybody who likes comics at all who weren't able to find something to like about this particular series. I remember reading an old interview where they said, well, originally we just started doing it because we wanted to draw cute girls. And then they thought, well, we can't just do cheesecake, so let's make them smart and let's make them funny. And then it became, well, their influences for the stories they were telling became less and less about the comics they grew up reading and became more and more about them and their friends and the different things that they were going on through their lives. And what's really great is even on the ground floor, it's really diverse and there's a really depth and there's a real craft and skill going on. You don't think, well, this is okay, but in a few years, then these guys will be professional. I mean, bang, in the gate. The stories are there, the art's there, the writing is there. Now, a few years later, they did improve and they did get better. So they went from being good to great to even better. Um, I would recommend actually let me say this because I know these stories have always been in print, but they've over the years been in print in different a variety of different formats. So sometimes they release them and there's just Jamie stuff. Sometimes they release them it's just Gilbert stuff. Sometimes they release them there's only the Locust stories. Sometimes it's only the Mechanic stories. Sometimes it's the science fiction stories. Sometimes it's the Heartbreak Soup stories. I think if you want to, you can probably get music from Mechanics if you order it from the publisher. But you can't go wrong if you just go into a regular mainstream bookstore and just pick up anything by Gilbert or Jamie Hernandez. You'll be really pleased. Once again, I got to thank you very much for listening to me. Please give me any of your comments, any opinions. Tell me where I went wrong. Turn me on to some new stuff. Thank you very much, and you have a great one.